So you're thinking about moving to Miami Beach, and maybe you've seen the palm trees, the turquoise water, the Art Deco buildings, and you're sold. Now, most real estate agents will happily show you a beautiful listing, smile for the camera, and hand you a flyer. But what if I told you that 93% of Miami Beach's buildings sit in flood zones and nobody's talking about it? Real estate agents won't tell you about the hidden costs, outrageous hidden fees, or the rising insurance rates that could drain your savings. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to ask before you buy and how to avoid the trap that most buyers fall into. So let's get to it. All right, let's start with the elephant in the room that real estate agents love to gloss over: flooding. Now, when I tell people that 93% of all buildings in Miami Beach are located within FEMA special flood hazard areas, I can literally see their faces change. That's not a typo, it's not exaggeration, 93%. And here's the thing that most people don't know: 64% of the flood insurance policies in Miami Beach are held by buildings that were built before 1972, before FEMA even released its first flood map. These are known as pre-firm structures, and they're way more vulnerable because they were built under old standards with little to no flood proofing. Now, let's talk about sea level rise. Since 2006, it's tripled from about 3 millimeters a year to over 9. That means that the water is rising faster than our infrastructure can keep up with. Then come the king tides. Every fall from September through November, we get what's called sunny day flooding. No rain, no storms, it's just the ocean coming up through the streets. And if that sounds like a minor inconvenience, then let me tell you about Vendome Place condominiums. Floodwaters rushed into the elevator shaft, trapping a 4-year-old child inside, and residents had to force the doors open and carry him out through waist-deep water. It took 24 hours for the garage to drain. Nearly every vehicle was totaled. This isn't just a Miami quirk, it's a real safety issue. It affects your buildings, your car, and your home, and even your ability to get to the lobby. And here's what gets a lot of people: flood insurance is basically mandatory, especially if you're financing. It's expensive, it doesn't cover everything, and it's an additional cost on top of your already high expenses. Depending on where you live, it can run into the thousands of dollars per year. But flooding isn't the only thing that's going to shock your wallet. Just wait until you hear about the parking costs that I'll be breaking down next. And this is exactly why I started this channel, to give you the honest insight that other real estate agents are leaving out. Every week I cover the real Miami Beach, the tips, the traps, and the truth about what it's actually like to live here. So if you're thinking about making the move, or you just want to be smarter about it, then make sure to subscribe to the channel. You will not get this kind of transparency anywhere else. Let me be honest, parking is something that blindsides almost every new Miami Beach resident. Real estate agents love to mention that your condo comes with one assigned parking space, but they conveniently forget to explain what happens when you need more than one spot. Most condos give you one parking space per unit if you're lucky, but if you need a second, you're either paying hundreds of dollars a month to rent one, or circling the block hoping for street parking. Now, technically, residents can register for street parking through the city of Miami Beach. You can apply online for a residential parking permit, which costs about $175 a year. And if you sign up for the city's resident discount program, street parking drops to $1 per hour in most areas. Sounds great, right? Well, there are limitations. Those discount rates only apply in certain zones, and remember, we're talking about Miami Beach, so that resident discount does not apply to the city of Miami. City Commissioner David Suarez even said it bluntly: some residents have to park 7 or 8 blocks away and Uber home. Between residential permits, paid garages, guest parking headaches, and special event blackouts, many people may end up spending over $1,000 a year just to park, and that's being strategic. This parking situation becomes even more challenging when you consider that the premium costs all detail soon force many residents to find creative solutions, often spending thousands annually just to park near their own homes. But moving from parking expenses to the bigger picture, let's talk about something that catches everybody off guard: the overall cost of living in Miami Beach. Now, here's the thing: the marketing materials often focus on the glamorous lifestyle, but they don't mention that Miami Beach living costs 37% higher than the national average. Let's start with housing, which is the biggest chunk for most people. Housing expenses here are a full 133% higher than the national norm. The median home price is sitting at about $750,000 according to Redfin, and if you're renting, median rent is about $3,450 a month, and that's a median, meaning a lot of people are paying over that and a couple people are paying under that. Utilities aren't cheap either. They run about 4% higher than the national average, with monthly energy bills around $208, but in older buildings without efficient systems, it's not so uncommon to see bills climb over $300 a month in the summer. Transportation costs are also about 1% above the national norm, but where things really creep up with you is groceries and daily essentials. Groceries here cost about 7% more than average. Think $4.24 for a loaf of bread, $5 for a gallon of milk. And that's before we even talk about imported products or organic options. And here's something a lot of new residents don't realize. When you schedule a repair or a service call, there is often something called an island access fee, which is basically a surcharge because you live in Miami Beach. Even dining out is affected. That same diner that costs $40 in the mainland, well, you can expect to pay $65 to $80 in Miami Beach. And that's not just for fine dining, that's the baseline. There are no local discounts and no off-season deals. The tourism factor makes everything more expensive. Since Miami Beach is a premier tourist destination, restaurant, bars, retail stores, and service providers charge tourist-level prices year-round. There's no local discount because businesses know that tourists with higher spending power are always flowing through the area. I'll talk more about how tourism impacts your daily life here in a minute, but first, let's look at something that sounds glamorous in theory, but can be pretty frustrating in practice. I'm talking about high-rise condo living in Miami Beach. These stunning tower views come with daily complications that nobody prepares you for. Think long elevator waits, noise from constant renovations, and surprise assessments for building repairs. Deliveries can take forever to reach your door, and if the elevator breaks, well, you're stuck climbing 20+ floors. High-rise living in Miami Beach looks glamorous, but the reality can be frustrating, expensive, and downright exhausting. Let's start with the basics. You are completely dependent on elevators. Every trip, groceries, dog walk, trash, coffee involves waiting. And when the elevators are busy or broken, you're either stuck or you're huffing it up 20+ floors. Take the Biscaha in Miami Beach, one of the city's most well-known luxury buildings. They had chronic elevator malfunctions that lasted over a year. I'm talking multiple city code violations, fire rescues, and even a lawsuit of more than $50,000 in unpaid repair bills. There was even a case during the holidays where only the service elevator went down, and the building sent out wine and champagne as an apology. It's a nice gesture, but not exactly helpful when you're carrying groceries or trying to get your dog outside. Since December 2019, the building's racked up at least 7 elevator code violations, each carrying a $250 fine, mostly for expired elevator certificates. Now, picture this as your daily routine, waiting 10 to 15 minutes for an elevator, stopping on every floor on the way down, only to find out that your delivery is at the front desk across from a separate parking structure. Then hiking back up, waiting again with your dog or bags in tow. That quick coffee run you imagine, it can turn into a 45-minute ordeal. And when the elevators go out entirely, which does happen more often than you think, residents on higher floors can become effectively trapped, especially elderly folks or anybody with mobility limitations. When there's no working elevator, they're housebound until the building finishes repairs, which can take days. And remember the flooding issues I talked about earlier? It's the same deal here. Aging infrastructure and poor water management can impact elevators, garages, and power systems. You start to realize how many buildings in Miami Beach aren't fully prepared for the kind of challenges they're facing now. And this kind of isolation becomes even more frustrating when you're surrounded by millions of tourists, which bring me to the next major challenge: seasonal visitors. Tourism can fundamentally change the character of living in Miami Beach. Every year, we see about 26.5 million total visitors. That includes 19.2 million overnight guests and 7.3 million day trippers. And when you realize that Miami Beach has fewer than 100,000 full-time residents, yes, on any given day, tourists can outnumber the locals by a massive margin. In 2022, we hit a record-breaking year, 4.7 million international overnight stays, 10.4 million domestic stays. That's constant year-round traffic, not just during spring break or Art Basel. So what does this actually look like in daily life? It means crowds. always. You're gonna wanna go to the beach? Well, be ready to walk a couple blocks and find a spot that isn't shoulder to shoulder. Craving dinner at a popular restaurant? Well, you're looking at reservations booked weeks in advance. And during the winter months, it gets even worse. That's when all the snowbirds roll in from the cold weather states. The roads get clogged, parking vanishes, and wait times explode for everything from groceries to gas. And it's not just about inconvenience, it's about our infrastructure strain. Miami Beach was designed to support its permanent population, not millions of visitors layered on top. The result is water pressure drops during peak usage, waste management systems get overwhelmed, and city services are stretched thin, especially in high-density areas. And all of these tourists, well, they're competing for the same resources as residents and driving up prices across the board. Remember those premium pricing issues that I had mentioned earlier, like groceries, dining, and services? This is exactly why they exist. So while tourism is great for the economy, it also means that living here full-time feels like sharing your neighborhood with a crowd that never leaves. The infrastructure strain is real and measurable. The city's utilities, transportation systems, and public services are designed for the permanent population, but they have to handle millions of additional users throughout the year. But now let's talk about something that really catches my buyers off guard: the premium costs that come with premium real estate. Let's be honest, when you're buying in Miami Beach, you're not just paying for the property itself, you're paying for location, and that location comes with ongoing costs that can catch even experienced buyers off guard. Let's start with the HOA fees. In Miami Beach, you're looking at about $800 to $2,000 or more per month depending on the building. That's substantially higher than similar buildings in other cities. These fees typically cover things like building maintenance, 24/7 security, pools, gyms, and increasingly the coastal infrastructure like flood mitigation systems and seawall maintenance. But here's where it gets serious: the special assessments. Post Surfside collapse, Miami-Dade County rolled out stricter building safety requirements, and now a lot of older buildings are scrambling to meet those standards. This means that residents are getting hit with special assessments ranging from $50,000 to $200,000 per unit in extreme cases. Yes, per unit. And this ties directly back to the flooding issues that I talked about earlier. Buildings that were never designed to handle rising tides or high water events are now paying the price literally, and those costs are passed directly to the owners. Property taxes are also another hit. Miami Beach real estate tends to appreciate quickly, and those rising values translate to substantially higher annual tax bills. And while Florida doesn't have a state income tax, many buyers find that their property tax burden alone ends up exceeding what they used to pay in combined state and local taxes elsewhere. Then there's insurance. Between flood, hurricane, property, and liability insurance, many homeowners are paying $8,000 to $10,000 annually, and that number is climbing. And it doesn't just stop right there. Many condo buildings have strict bylaws requiring things like professional cleaning services, approved window treatments for uniformity, only using pre-approved contractors on any work done inside your unit. So imagine this: you buy a beautiful place, you paid your closing costs, and you're settling in, and then you get a letter from your condo association saying that you owe $100,000 for emergency repairs that need to start immediately. This isn't hypothetical, it's happening right now in buildings all across Miami Beach. So yes, Miami Beach real estate does hold its value, but the real cost of ownership, it's not just the purchase price, it's in the monthly fees, the surprise assessments, and the never-ending list of premium expenses that come with maintaining luxury in a city built on sand. Now, Miami Beach isn't for everybody, and that is okay. The hidden costs and the daily challenges can be a deal breaker for some people, but others thrive here because they planned well and they chose wisely. So if you're still interested after hearing the downsides, that's a pretty good sign. You're thinking clearly, you're not chasing a fantasy. The key is knowing where to look and what to expect. So if you're thinking about making the move to Miami, don't let these numbers scare you. They just mean you're now equipped to make smarter decisions and plan ahead. Miami Beach can be an amazing place to live, and my team and I would love to help you make it happen. You can shoot me an email, joe@joesellsmiami.com, to get started. And don't go just yet, because I want you to check out this other video where I break down all of Miami's best and worst beach neighborhoods, and some of them might really surprise you. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.